Welcome to Plus and Minus Software. This video shows you the general chart of accounts, the subchart of accounts, links, and journals. We are running the demo on the Microsoft Azure Cloud. Let me go into the Gen chart while I talk about this right now. The Gen chart is 3 to 5 digits. The personal set of books uses 3 digits. For-profit companies use 4. Nonprofits use 4, sometimes 5, and governments use 5. Gen accounts focus on external reporting such as cash, accounts receivable, notes payable, inventory, revenues, and expenses. These accounts use names that are general in nature and should be easily understood by users of financial statements. The Gen chart is the backbone and rarely changes. In large companies, the Gen chart is referred to as the universal chart of accounts and used by all affiliates around the world. Over time, business operating environments change, and there is a mover routine to redesign the general chart of accounts. For a lot of customers that are starting new with Plus and Minus, they're not quite sure of the concepts of how it works. And one of the great beauties of this is when you get into it, you think, gee, if I'd only known this before I started, I would have done it differently. The mover allows you to go back and do a search and replace and modify the system to the way you want it. The Gen chart can handle up to 1,000 Gen accounts. Typically, we see about 200 to 250 Gen accounts. Construction can be as high as 500 because the Gen accounts define cost codes in this system. There are 2 types of Gen accounts. The ledger gens, which are stored in chronological order. All accounts are ledger accounts. Invoice gens, which store in invoice number order. They require an invoice number to create the transaction and an invoice number to relieve it. Up to 16 invoice gens can be defined as receivables, and up to 16 invoice gens can be defined as payables. The display by invoice is done in the age receivables and payables. Detail ledger always shows in chronological order. Let me talk about the links for a second. The sub-file inside Plus and Minus is basically one file, and it's divided into sets or groups. And the link is what determines how you're going to look it up. So in this case, for these cash accounts right here, link 4 defines the banks or the bank set of subs. Accounts receivable trade defines customers, which is 6. Let me go down to fixed assets. You'll notice that this is a very traditional fixed assets section. And inside the link or set link 22, you can define the fixed asset sets, and these can be subdivided by groups. You can be pretty exotic about how you want to set this up. And let me go down here to vendors. Vendors right here, accounts payable trade, 84. We also have an 84 for time splitter, which is used by nonprofits, and 84 in accounts payable accruals. There is also another payable down here, 84. I'm sorry, it's not here. So 18 is for employees. You see a lot of Gen accounts for employees. Primarily, this is because these are clearing accounts that hold all the information to report to the government. Plus and Minus can do all 50 states and Puerto Rico. We can do the federal, state, local, and district levels of taxation. We can do the 401ks, the 403bs, SEP, IRAs, health insurance, the FUTA, SUTA, SDI is all in here. One of the big deductions that's used very heavily in almost all companies we work with is the child care, child support. We can support up to 8 child care deductions per employee per paycheck. The most we've ever seen is 3. Finally, you get down to the P&L section, and what we do here is we have a set. In this case, it's called departments. This is their profit center. This is a perfume company, and we can report by location, and it has Houston, Atlanta, and LA. Also, we can report by product, and then we can report by product by location. And we show you this in one of the other videos. So let me exit the Gen chart, and one thing to remember about the links is that the Gen account link is a prefix to the sub account. It is implied while using Plus and Minus. You never enter a link. And one last thing to remember is that the subchart of accounts is one file. The link determines what edit or search window to use. We talk about journals. Very important part of Plus and Minus. Let me go into control, financial, and I want to go to journals. Basically what we have here is we have 10 journal groups. Plus and Minus supports 100 unique journals They divide into groups of 10 for ease of use and input control. And let me define a journal. A journal is the original recording of a financial event. It is the debiting of one or more accounts and crediting of one or more accounts where the total debits and credits equal 0. Journal groups are defined as the 0x group. This is 0 through 09, which is the system journal, and there's very few entries made to this journal. 1x is sales, 2x is purchase, 3x is cash receipts, 4x is cash disbursements, 5x is payroll, 6x is miscellaneous or general, 7x is variance, 8x is committed costs and revenues, and 9x is budgets. Journals plus or minus uses journal 00 to open a new year. Some nonprofits, such as trusts, never open a new year. However, opening a new year shifts the reporting date forward, making it easier to focus on the current year for reporting and control purposes. The 8X journal group is reserved for operational accounting, committed revenues, and costs. What happens here is the system will create a virtual entry for financial reporting purposes. It will go in and analyze the open purchase receives, the open sales ships, and it will go ahead and generate the entries it needs in order to close those out. This is done virtually, so the entry still stays open. In some situations, you can change that to where you want it to be done on the open sales orders and the open purchase orders. Some companies look upon this as a legal obligation. This is especially true in companies that have large construction projects that they're doing. Finally, the 9X journal records budgets and forecasts, and they go in just like any other entry. A good way to, one more thing before I leave the screen, edit extended. You can have, the 10X group is sales. You can see where we have sales service, we have sales stock inventory, sales stock draws, sales stock rentals. So you can subdivide each group into more finite groups, and there's a lot of subdivision that's going on here. Really helps when you're doing analytical work because you can go pull it back using the journal number and you can identify certain types of transactions that you want to see. Best way to demonstrate is go put in a manual entry. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to debit cash for $10,000 and then we're going to credit sales other for $10,000. A very simple two-legged entry. Let me go into entry edit, click add, and I'm going to go through and do all the searching. This will be a journal 30 because this is a cash sale. He gives us a check, so we'll put it into the check journal. We're going to use today's date. Plus or minus stores this. Our default is enter year, month, day. You can put it in any format you want. Month, day, year, day, month, year, century, year, month, day. We're going to assign the next reference number, which is coming from the journal 30 group. And then we want to put this into cash, so we'll use I'm going to click the cash button here, so all you see is cash. We'll put it into the cash account. And this will go into Wells Fargo, so I'll pull this up, type in WEL, there's Wells Fargo. Press enter twice, and it lays in there. And then let me put in $10,000. This will be a positive number, a debit, and this will be first entry. Let me put something like plus and minus 1, first one. Don't need any other information. Cross-reference, the software will take care of that automatically. And I'm going to cheat, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create the offset entry by copying the original entry, except in this case, I want to put it into sales other right there. And I want to charge it to perfume Women's Atlanta, which is 102, and I want to change the sign because this is a credit. I click start, and there it is. So we have a complete entry. Tally all is a command we put in years ago. If you're ever putting an entry in manually, you should always click tally all to make sure that it equals 0. And the inside plus and minus, it has to equal by journal number, in this case 30. And it also has to be in the same month. So if you put one side of the entry into 30 and the other side into 31, that's an out of balance condition, and it will not be merged. It will not. The entry edit window will accept it, but it won't merge into the history file. Also, if you change the date to, in this case, we have August 16th and we have the offset to September the 14th, that's also considered to be an out of balance entry, so that it forces compliance with the balancing conditions of the system. That's the end of this video. Thank you and have a very good day.